Watagwan.
Watagwan.
Datagwan pa.
Watagwan. Watagwan.
Watagwan. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
Datagwan pa. Watagwan.
Brought to you by
Some things are perfect from the start. Smirnoff.
Thanks for joining us for CVM News at noon. It's Wednesday, April 22, 2026. I'm Akeem Oret. The youth arm of the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP Young Jamaica, notes with great concern the reported decision by People's National Party, PNP, Member of Parliament for St. Andrew East Central, Dennis Gordon, to decline an invitation to appear before Parliament's Ethics Committee. Young Jamaica says it is both appropriate and necessary that accountability matters be addressed through established parliamentary mechanisms with all members present. In light of recent and troubling media reports concerning Mr. Gordon and his Jackden group, particularly in connection with the ongoing tax exemption scandal at the University Hospital of the West Indies, Young Jamaica repeats its call for PNP President Mark Golding to demand the resignation of Dennis Gordon as MP.
Slap in the face of accountability. It is a clear disregard for any measure, any parliamentary measure with the task of accountability. Now, for Mr. Gordon to decide to not show up to this ethics committee meeting, it is a disgrace. It is a disgrace, and Jamaicans must take offense to this. And we, as Young Jamaica, take it very seriously, and we will not let up the pressure. We will keep going for the people of Jamaica.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang is sounding a fresh warning on the state of violence across Jamaica. Speaking at a post-cabinet media briefing Wednesday morning, Dr. Chang pointed to gang activity as a major driver of instability in several vulnerable communities, warning that criminal networks are increasingly taking control. But the minister cautioned that the issues goes beyond gangs. He highlighted what he described as growing social dysfunctions, factors that continue to fuel crime and weaken community structures.
Usually these communities are also characterized by other dysfunctional activity. You have not necessarily, well, poverty is not the cause of crime, and I'm not one to advocate that. We have had many tough communities where you have, good order and some brilliant people coming out of it, but in fact they tend to be associated. And it was the mission of the government to stop the violence, whether in the community, on the streets, and unfortunately sometimes in our schools. But the object of the policy of the government is to ensure we can create good order across the country. Once we have that, it provides the basis for development. It provides a foundation of economic change.
In the meantime, the security minister also raised concern about the growing levels of violence within the nation's schools. Dr. Chang warned that continued disruptions in the education system could significantly impact students' ability to learn, leading to a decline in overall academic performance. He further notes that the effects extend beyond the classroom, cautioning that fear and insecurity are already taking a toll on communities, with social activities expected to decrease as violence persists.
School, I'm not going to emphasize that too much, but if you have disorder in a school, the learning capacity declines. If you have criminal violence active in the community, then not only do the community get fearful and stay home, but a lot of economic activity goes down. As a society, we're fully aware of social activity that drives the economy, entertainment, but other basic social activity in Jamaica. The Wednesday evening prayer meeting is a staple for older, in particular ladies who are, in the churches. They want to go out, and it's a part of their social life, not just their activity in a faith-based organization in the church. When the gun starts firing, they're afraid to leave their home because they get caught in gunfire in the streets. It may not be the want to be encouraged, but on a Friday evening across Jamaica and a Saturday evening, men get together at a street side bar. They drink and talk and they solve all the Jamaicans' problems by midnight and go home after some JB. But it's part of what protects the social fabric of Jamaica.
And in the same breath, Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon says the rise in school violence is largely a learned behavior. Speaking at a post-cabinet briefing on Wednesday, Dr. Morris-Dixon says students often reflect the environment they come from, noting that the issues playing out in schools are deeply rooted in conditions within their communities. She says what is unfolding in classrooms is not isolated, but rather a direct extension of the many realities students face outside the school gates.
We are finding that the same issues we see in our communities, the same issues with conflict resolution, they're popping up in school because it is learned behavior. And so what we've had to be doing in the Ministry of Education is putting a lot more emphasis on that work on the psychosocial dimension. We're doing a lot of work in literacy and numeracy, but we've recognized that that alone is not enough. And so we have Mr. Troop and his team doing a lot of work. We have the guidance counselors out there working with the students. We've provided avenues for them to speak up when there are issues, but we have to keep doing it. Some of the young men who've been involved in some of the activities that have been in the news, they're not from underprivileged families. So this is a problem that is happening across our country, and we have to deal with it. And it's a general problem where we have accepted violence as the way to deal with conflicts.
To other news now, 2 people narrowly escaped serious injuries after the vehicle they were traveling in plunged over a precipice of the Spur Tree Hill Main Road in Manchester Wednesday morning. According to reports, the Manchester Fire Department received a call around 7:26, alerting them to the crash. 2 senior citizens, a man and a woman, were pulled from the mangled BYD motor vehicle that had fallen over the precipice. Firefighters applied cervical collars or neck brace to the 2 senior citizens, and they were transported to hospital by a passing motorist. The incident comes just 2 weeks after 2 persons died after a cement truck plunged over another precipice of the Spur Tree Hill Main Road. Councillor for the UNDN division, Andrew Harris, says murder in his division has reduced significantly, crediting community effort, the work of the government and law enforcement. Harris made the remarks while speaking at his 6-a-side football competition in Pembroke Hall, where he praised local initiatives and the JCF for contributing to improved safety.
And I must say it is a contributory factor from the excellent job that the Prime Minister and his team, led by Horace Chang, is doing, and the Commissioner of Police, with the overall trajectory of crime going down. And we have gotten our share of that.
Jamaica's latest confidence survey is showing a fragile recovery, with consumers feeling slightly better, but businesses growing more cautious. Head of Market Research Services, Don Anderson, says that divide reflects how differently each group is experiencing the country's ongoing economic shocks.
I think that it is a question of greater optimism because they went to such a low in terms of confidence during the Melissa and after Melissa that any little movement upwards is obviously going to be something that is noticed. But the bottom line is that, people are feeling a little bit better about where they are now compared to where they were right after Melissa and for the next 2 months after Melissa.
The Senate has approved the Casino Gaming General Regulations 2025, paving the way for casino operations under Jamaica's integrated resort model. Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Charles Sinclair, says the move is about getting the framework right after years of consultation and review.
Last Friday, the Casino Gaming General Regulations 2025 was approved, and that is the regulations which will operationalize the Casino Gaming Act. The Casino Gaming Act, the persons who can apply for casinos in this model would be having to bring to Jamaica an investment in the tune of $100 million, United States dollars, that is.
And we take a break here inside CVM News at noon. Stay with us. Our live interview comes up next.
Business is fast, easy, flexible, and costs less. Oh, entrepreneurs, let's go digital! The government of Jamaica and the European Union present Digital Jamaica Training Series. Learn how technology grows your business. Choose the right digital tools. Manage your staff, customers, and money digitally. Data security and privacy. Artificial intelligence. We'll be in every parish. Apply online. www.jbdc.net. Log on fast. Digital Jamaica. Powering connectivity for MSMEs.
Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan? What a guan?
That a guan pa.
What a guan? What a guan?
What a Guan! Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
That a guan pa. What a guan?
Brought to you by
Some things are perfect from the start. Smirnoff.
Tune in to Lead Story, weekdays at 6 p.m. Hosted by Jodianne Quarry.
Brought to you by
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services.
Welcome back to CVM News at noon. The Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network is raising serious concerns about the state of safety in schools across Jamaica as incidents of student-on-student violence continue to make headlines, including a recent fatal stabbing and viral cases of bullying. The group is warning that schools alone cannot handle the problem. The organization says the current situation is threatening students' rights to education and their overall well-being, and is now calling on the Ministry of Education to take urgent system-wide action. Joining us now to discuss this is Executive Director of the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, Shanique Bowden. Good afternoon, Ms. Bowden.
Hi, good afternoon.
So you've said schools are limited in their ability to deal with violence. What exactly are they lacking right now?
So I think it's a multitude of things. If I can just share from just our experience at JAN, we spent the last year and a half doing violence prevention strategies through one of our projects funded through the Canada Fund for Local Initiative. And one of the things that we generally find in the schools that we're going to is that the teachers aren't equipped to manage the students in their classrooms. That's a big problem that we see coming out. There's a lack of training both from student and teacher level around conflict resolution, how to manage like outbursts, how to manage even like petty arguments that may be happening between students. There's a significant gap in that regard. And so when we find ourselves going into schools and we are, one, observing the interactions that students are having with each other, and then two, we're going through with them to discuss like, violence prevention strategies or rather conflict resolution strategies and those sort of things, it's very interesting to see like what the gaps are in terms of like how they navigate interactions with each other and how they lack the capacity to effectively and positively deal with disagreements that they have. And so within the schools, we might find that because teachers are so overwhelmed with their workload, with the demands of teaching a class that has to prepare for exams, where it often falls down is when they have to deal with discipline. And so there is that capacity level from the students, from the teachers, from the administration where that is concerned.
You said teachers lack, some sort of training. They are overwhelmed. How serious is the problem at this moment? Are we looking at isolated incidents or a systemic crisis?
So I think crisis might be a bit much, but what I do think is that what we see happening in the media over the last 2 or 3 days since the weekend isn't abnormal. right, what generally obtains is that there are incidents happening between the students and teachers, but they may not get to the gravity that we are seeing happening in the media, resulting in like serious injury and even, unfortunately, where death is concerned. But daily, children are fighting. We've been into schools where we're doing sessions and like they're fighting in front of us as outsiders doing sessions. And so that doesn't make news, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And so it's a matter of just like, one, the issues exist, but the gravity of it is seemingly increasing. We're seeing more of it in the media, and we're also seeing more grave consequences of the violence and fighting that we're seeing in schools.
This morning in a media briefing, in a post-cabinet media briefing, our education minister said, you know, some of these incidents that we're seeing in schools, they're as a result of what students are seeing in their communities. But to what extent are recent cases like this stabbing and viral bullying videos reflective of a deeper cultural issue among our students?
Yeah, so it's definitely not an isolated issue, and we do agree with the comments made by the minister regarding just it's a societal problem. And so when you have a student who lives in a particular community, is observing certain behaviors at home, many of those things translate into how they interact at school. So if their mother and father are generally very, conflict-ridden and they're always arguing, their natural default when they get into an argument is to maybe blow up, maybe react in the way they see their mother or father react with somebody in their family. And so those things aren't isolated. It is very much well documented that, what we sometimes see happening in the home and in the community translates into what we see in the schools. And so it really does take an all of society approach to how we are addressing, the issues that we see within the school environment. It can't just be, yes, the ministry and yes, the schools, but we need to bring the parents in. We need to bring community role models and actors in who are looking to address the issues that they're seeing in their internal communities and always stemming into the school violence, by ensuring that all stakeholders are being involved in the process, all stakeholders are playing their part in addressing the issues within the context in which they are existing.
So you're calling, or one of your recommendations is conflict resolution in the curriculum. How would that realistically work in Jamaican classrooms?
So, I think they can look at it in a number of ways. I remember back in my days when I was doing, when I was in high school, albeit that was like 15 years ago, we did a lot of, personal development classes. And that's a ripe opportunity there for us to sort of address some of these issues. Conflict resolution is a personal development issue. It's something that many of us, even as adults, have to sort of like navigate. This idea of, emotional intelligence is something that we have to just like navigate and learn. It's taught. And so if we are framing out in the sense of where we have personal development, we have health and family life education, we have guidance and counseling sessions that we're integrating in a more systemic way, not just like a one-off session that they do September morning, but throughout the term, we're having refresher courses on conflict resolution skills. We're having refresher courses on positive alternatives to, address violence or fighting and bullying and those sort of issues. And so implementing it in a more systemic way where both students and teachers are being exposed to the different strategies, are having opportunities to meet with experts and learn from experts within their school environment about how they can address some of the challenges that they're having before it gets to, before it gets to 100%, we have to attack it from when it's at 0, from when it's at 10, 20. And that's one easy way that we can do that, by streamrolling more conflict resolution opportunities as part of the curriculum throughout the school year.
So Jayan is also calling for a national school safety audit. What gaps do you expect that audit to uncover?
So I think some of the immediate gaps that we might see is just generally, one, how are schools equipped to handle these issues? So when the matter gets to the 100%, who is intervening when, how, and in what way to de-escalate it? So even, for example, what we saw with the unfortunate incident at Seaford High, what I'm seeing in the news is that persons by persons I mean the school administrators, were aware of these issues. They were trying to mitigate. I understand that they separated the students who were in the conflict into different classes and streams and those sort of things. Are those systematic things that different schools are equipped to manage? So when they become aware that student A and student B are having a disagreement and it's escalating, what are the points of intervention? What programs, what policies, what procedures do they put in place? At what stage do we call in parents? At what stage do we need to escalate to external mediation?